Hello everybody, I am Baltmatrix, and today we are taking a look at a series of figures from Hello Carbot. This is the Hyper Buildion set. Each one of these figures, or I should say, the 4 smaller figures, all transform and have robot modes. The 2 larger figures that you see in the back, the red dump truck and the drill tank, don't, but we'll get into all of that in a little bit. First up, we're taking a look at the Humvee. This cute little orange, yellow, and white Humvee is very cute. It's very cute looking, and it scales roughly to the same size as a Voyager-class Siege Optimus Prime. I like it. The transformation is rather simple, though there is one little bit of a trick. First, we pop the rear doors out, and then we flip down the forearms, and then fold the front tires up into the wheel wells to form the shoulders, flip the legs down. The hips do snap and peg into place, though it is a little bit difficult to find that snap point, and then the knees do fold all the way back onto the back of the car. The overall aesthetic of the figure is quite nice, and that head sculpt very utilitarian. The figure looks good in the 360-degree pose, but as you'll see later, there is a giant robot head stored underneath that backpack section. I like the figure, it looks good. I just wish the hips weren't so loose. I can fix that, however. Head is on a swivel, shoulders are on swivels and hinges, there is a bend at the elbow, hinges at the hips, and hinge for the knee, no foot articulation. And next up we have Duke, the excavator, and it's a really nice little excavator with a plow in the front, and it works well in excavator mode. It's got a fully articulated bucket, and it can swing around 360 degrees. I like it a lot. It's the same size, actually it is a bit bigger than Siege Voyager class Optimus Prime. It's a good size. Transformation, you gotta rip it in half, and then the bottom treads become the legs, folding up the treads, and then splitting them apart, and then flipping the rear section up that automatically pushes the feet down, and then fold out the back flap. And then the entire top section folds out into 2 arms, one being the bucket arm, and then the cab section flips around 180 degrees, and you flip out the robot head. The backpack is meant to be kept up, but while I did the transformation, I pushed it down. That actually throws off the stability of the figure, and it's got an issue with standing up. Overall, the look of the figure is pretty good, but it's my least favorite of all of them. It's weird. It's got a bunch of kibble that I don't care for, and it's kind of like a pseudo-Constructicon and Grimlock from RID combined. Not my favorite of the set. Posability is okay. The shovel has multiple joints and multiple points of articulation. Ball joint in the shoulder on the other arm. Hinge for an elbow. Head does swivel, though it does hit the backpack quite a bit. Legs are on ball joints. There is torso articulation, no ankle articulation. Next up, we have the crane of the set, otherwise known as CRAN. That name is a little on the nose for me. Has the same exact posability as Duke, bucket. Yeah, the arm goes up and down and can even bend. And it's roughly the same size as Duke, just with a longer crane arm. The transformation is roughly the same. Got to flip out the back rear wheels, then flip up or flip forward and flip out the toes, and then just pose the legs and then grab the top of it, and it transforms exactly the same, just kind of a mirror image to Duke. And the figure you end up with is pretty good. I love that head sculpt. We'll get a better look at the head sculpt here in a second. Now, I did screw up here and couldn't figure out how to pose the arm correctly, because for some reason I thought the arm was supposed to go the other way. And just snap it together and you got a nice robot mode. This, I think, works a little bit better. I also like yellow and red and black and white, all the colorings on the figure, and the head sculpt I really like. The horns. Posability is roughly the same as Duke. Head is on a swivel, and then there's a ball joint on the right arm and a hinge over 90 degrees. Left arm is highly posable thanks to the crane, multiple hinges and swivels, no swivels, just hinges. And there is torso articulation. Legs are exactly the same, lots of range in the hip, lots of range in the knee, no ankle articulation, however. 360-degree view, I think the figure works, and it works better than Duke, and I don't know why. They're roughly the same dang figures. Maybe it's because this figure can stand up on his own without any real issue. Now, it's not like I can't fix Duke, but I like yellow more than green. Maybe that's it. Last up is STARBY, the Bulldozer. This is the only female member of the team, and the Bulldozer mode works quite well, except for the fact you could see the robot head behind the shovel. And the shovel is... it's marred already. The plastic is going to break at some point. I like it. I legitimately do. The transformation is pretty simple. Fold or pull out the treads, flip them around, then flip out the tips of the treads to form big old stomping feet, and then push those legs in. Fold out the arms from behind the cab and put the shovel down. That's it. The overall aesthetic is pretty good. However, those hips need work. They are very loose, and I'm just gonna have to, tighten them up a little bit. Head sculpt, not the best. I do find it a little weird that there are two green figures in this set. Posability is okay. Torso up, legs, kind of forget about it. It's just one long stick. And you can see that in the 360 degree that the legs are having issues. Now, there is a reason the legs are engineered like that. That is for some of the combined modes. Yes, this whole set does do the combination thing, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. But first, dump truck and drill tank. If you're wondering the size, they scale to roughly a current deluxe class figure, maybe a smidge bigger. And here are the big boys, Proud, the dump truck, and Blaster, the drill tank. They combine with ZESTY and STARBY, and both of these work really well. They are characters in the show. So apparently, according to my buddy KR Brickbot, they are characters, they have personalities, they just don't have robot modes without the other two. Now, it's weird. It's just weird. I know this has been done before in other kid shows of this ilk, but having a giant character that's got a personality but no alt mode or no robot mode is just weird to me. I can't argue with the look though. The drill tank, as you saw, the drills do move. Unfortunately, the dump truck can't do the dump thing. And they're big. They're really big. To combine ZESTY and Proud, we first have to return ZESTY to its original Hummer mode, and that's very easy. Just transform it back. Very simple transformation. Most Transformers-like transformation of all of the robots. And then grab that dump truck, flip the corner of the beds out, flip the rear wheels up and peg them into place. Then the dump bed will flip out to form legs, and then part of the bed will flip out to form toes, split it apart, stand it up, then flip out the front windscreens, then the entire front of the vehicle mode will split in half, and the cab will fold up to form the arms. And yes, getting that apart is really hard. Then take ZESTY, split the sucker in half, and flip out the giant robot head, and drop him into place. Now, I did screw up here. I'll show you that screw up in just a second. Bring the shoulders up together, fold the arms down, and then twist the lower forearms into place. And the backpack has wings that split apart and fold up. And there are hinges there that allow the wings to fold back just a little bit. Now, this is where I screwed up. The backpack does flip down and then flips back up to hold those shoulders in place. The overall aesthetic of the figure is quite good. It feels very Power Rangers-esque, but is definitely Carbot. Very much Carbot. Scale-wise, a little bit bigger than Siege Jetfire, a lot shorter than Predaking. Next up, we've got STARBY and Blaster. First, slide off that yellow bit in the front, then fold the drills up, and, you're supposed to just split those apart, but the connections for the drills onto the rest of the tank are very, very not strong. I don't want to say loose, because they're not really loose, they're just not strong. And then split the legs apart and put the sections on the top, exactly like we were doing with Proud, the dump truck. It's exactly the same configuration. Fold the arms back on STARBY and then flip the inside part of the legs down and then circle out or swivel out these little blasters. Pull, then flip the entire backpack down, and the head for the giant robot mode is back there, and then we'll flip down. We'll try to flip down the treads to form little blasters that go over the head. This whole thing doesn't hold together very well. That whole head mode just does not hold together. Neither does the arms and the whole section. It just kind of loosely pegs into place. There are pegs there. It's not the greatest thing in the world, but what does hold everything together is that yellow bit in the front. And I can't argue with the look of StarBlaster. Overall, it looks really cool. Like, really cool. The blue, the gold, the silver, the green, everything works and gels together really well. Height-wise, it's roughly the same size as Proudest, I think is how you are supposed to pronounce it. And yeah, overall, pretty cool. I just wish it held together better. Now, the two boys together, or the two sets together, do have some posability. They aren't just static bricks a la Super Sentai. As you can see, they are roughly the same size, even if their scales are a little bit off just due to transformations. Head on Proudest does move. There is a ratchet joint in the shoulder, ratchet joint in the elbow, ratchet joint there, ratchet joint in the hips, cat investigating what's going on and what's making all the ratcheting noises, and who's being an into-way little kitty. Who's being a kitty? Yes, you are. StarBlaster, head swivel, ratchet in the shoulders, ratchet in the elbows, ratchet in the legs. Drills do swivel, ratchet legs, ratchet knees, no foot articulation. That's okay. No kitty this time, thankfully. For those of you that didn't know, these two sets do combine. Just literally rip StarBlaster apart into its components. The chest component, the arms, the head component, and then the legs. All of that, just rip them all apart into their individual components. No, bad kitty, my robots. And for the arms, you don't need to fold those sections up. Just leave them open. For the head, we're going to return the head back into the compartment there. Just flip that out, and then flip the entire section back into like a half combined backpack, like that, and take the actual legs and flip them around 180 so that the robot head is going to be smushed up against the back of the giant combine mode. Now, for the legs for StarBlaster, first, return them into their vehicle mode. So, I have it upside down. Just return it back to the vehicle mode on both sides. Do that for both sides. And yes, if you're wondering, these will become shoes. They just will. That's how these things work. Now we fold up the toes on each side and then drop them into place on the drill tank. And then flip the little panels on the outside in and snap them into place. Those feet are a lot harder to get snapped on than you might think. You end up having to grab them with your thumb or hold the shin in place with your thumb and then put them on, and they still are really hard to get on. Snap the drill arms on for drills, and then snap the bulldozer on the back, and then drop the crown and slide it into place from the back. And here we have the first of the Mecha Combine modes. This is Buildion. As you can see, it is a big old mess of parts. I like it. I legitimately like it. I think it looks very cool. It's big, it's large, it is heavy, and it looks good. And I keep futzing with the overall look because it keeps hitting the backdrop, and no matter how zoomed out I get, my camera can't keep it in frame. That's why I keep messing with it. It's big. It is legitimately a big, bulky Carbot giant robot, and I like it a lot. I think it's very, very cool. It is totally worth picking up. The only complaint I have on all of these bots are all of their hips are on the loose side. Just all of them. Even the ones that are supposed to be ratcheted are a little bit loose. Believe it or not, this figure does have posability. Elbows are fine, shoulders are ratcheted, and everything holds up except those hips. The hips are just too weak. Head still swivels. Legs can move forward and back and do have knee articulation, but good luck holding a pose. This is the only pose I was able to get him in reliably. Just this one. Now, for those of you wondering where the other two went, that is Duke and CRAN. They were just off to the side off camera. To combine them with Buildion, we have to return them into their component alt modes. So first we just reverse the transformation for CRAN, get him into the top of the crane and the bottom of the crane, and we do the same thing for Duke. So those two are done, rip the feet off of Buildion and grab each one of them because we're going to do the transformation. Starting with the one side, fold the front of the cab down, flip down the toe, and then flip out this peg port on the bottom, and then grab Duke's treads and plug them into place, and just put them off to the side. We're going to repeat the process on the other foot. Front of the cab down, flip out the toe, grab CRAN and flip out that peg, and then plug CRAN in. And it really doesn't matter which way you plug CRAN in. It honestly doesn't. And then we're going to attach those new shoes to the top or to the bottom of Buildion. Just snap them in, fold down the flap to connect them. And again, this is a lot harder than you might think. It's tricky. And then flip up the tires on the shoulder of Buildion that have the mushroom pegs and plug in the excavator and the crane onto either shoulders. And here I present to you Hyper Buildion, or Hyper Build-On. It's really cool. And it's big. It towers over Siege Jetfire and is along the same size as Predaking. And there's a Grimlock down there for scale. Leader class Grimlock. Posability-wise, forget it. You're not going to get much posability out of this thing. It's just too heavy. And it's teetering on Titan class. Here we have the Arc and Scorponok. It's just a smidge shorter than both of them. I'd say a whole head shorter, actually. It's a very big bot. I cannot lie. I love this set. I think this set is a ton of fun. It is totally worth picking up. I picked it up over at SirToys.com, and a link is down in the description for the entire set. I love it. It's great. Yes, it has some minor flaws. It's not perfect, but still, tons of fun. Totally worth having. So that's it for my review of Carbot's Hyper Buildion. Thank you so much for watching. Please let me know what you think of this set down in the comments. Please be sure to hit those like and subscribe buttons, and follow me over on Twitter. This has been Baltmatrix, and I'll catch you all next time.